Now, I'm sure I cannot wait to hear the introductions and the speeches by the Rose Cousins. I'm sure you're going to hear about fishing and the Midnight Express and all kinds of stuff. But rather than me do that, I want to introduce a guy. He is the Scenic City Invitational Promoter. They have a lot of matches in Chattanooga. They raised over $400,000 in the last 3 years for Hamilton County Schools. And I want to introduce Mr. Scott Hensley. He'll be inducting Randy and Pat Rose, the Rose Cousins. Mr. Hensley?
Hey guys, I am Scott Hensley. I do promote with the Scenic City Invitational Group in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, but it was actually in Alabama that I got some of my first opportunities to do ring announcing over in Scottsboro, Alabama with the Ultimate NWA group, Will Owens and that group. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I'm honored to get to talk to you about a couple of guys that most of you have some memory of or have been told about their legacy, and here we are 30 to 40 years later, still talking about them and still honoring them, and I can only hope to have a legacy such as that. But ladies and gentlemen, the tag team that I'm going to talk about is the Rose Cousins, Pat and Randy Rose. To talk about them as a tag team is one thing, but they actually had very separate and very successful separate careers. As a tag team, they were very successful in the mid-'80s. They did win the NWA Southeastern Tag Team Championship in 1984. But I will back up here and we'll take them one by one and start with Mr. Pat Rose. Pat Rose was trained by Ken Hawk, the manager of the original Samoans, and he debuted in 1979. He said after about 2 weeks of training, they threw him into the fire and put him on TV in Chattanooga, Tennessee. From there on, he formed a lot of successful tag teams. He formed a tag team with Marcel Pringle, managed by Don Fargo, as the New Fabulous Fargos. He teamed with Tom Pritchard, managed by sensational Sherry Martel, as the Heavenly Bodies. He was for a time Mr. Wrestling number 2's partner. He was Mr. Wrestling number 3 under the mask. And he also formed very successful tag teams with Arn Anderson. He formed a tag team with Jackie Fargo. And he even formed a tag team at one point with Andre the Giant. So Pat has formed some very successful tag teams. He has also competed in the ring as a single and as a tag team wrestler against some of the biggest names in the history of professional wrestling. Some of these names include Big Van Vader, Sting, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Dusty Rhodes, Arn Anderson, and Ric Flair. Woo! But he also competed in Puerto Rico, and he was a part of the last Battle of Atlanta versus Bruno Sammartino in 1983. I think that's on the WWE Network now. If you have that, you can check that out. But then you also have his cousin, Randy Rose. Randy debuted a little earlier, 1974, and he was one of the original members of the Midnight Express. So many people my age and probably younger think Midnight Express and they think Stan and they think Bobby and they think Dennis. But actually Norvell Austin, Dennis Condrey, and Randy Rose were the original founding 3 members. And Randy Rose would go on with Dennis Condrey as the original Midnight Express to have a lot of tag team success. They actually won the AWA Tag Team Championship. They were managed by Paul E. Dangerously, which most of us probably know as Paul Heyman now. So they actually defeated Jerry the King Lawler and Bill Dundee for that championship. And then sort of a passing of the torch kind of thing. They were defeated by the Midnight Rockers, 2 punk kids named Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. So a little legacy and heritage there. But Randy Rose actually had a very successful career here in the United States. He did appear on Starrcade 1988 with his partner Jack Victory. It was the Midnight Express versus the Midnight Express. And then also, one thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that Randy Rose also had a very successful career overseas in Japan. He did have multiple tours of Japan and competed against some of their biggest names. Some of the names that he competed against in singles and tag team action: Bruiser Brody, Magnum TA. He teamed with and against Abdullah the Butcher, Jumbo Tsuruta, Pat O'Connor, the Great Kabuki, the Great Muta, Kenta Kobashi. He also had competition against Ric Flair, and he also competed against Andre the Giant in a battle royal. Not sure he won that one. But ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce you to two men who, like I said, here we are 30 to 40 years still talking about these guys, still talking about their legacy, their contribution to professional wrestling, the way that they have paved the road for people like myself to be involved as just a ring announcer and promoter, for all those guys in the back to be involved as professional wrestlers. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Mr. Pat Rose and Randy Rose.
Fans, me and Pat Rose are here to do something that Jack Lord and Legacy Wrestling has given us, and it's an honor to be here and to see you guys, and we appreciate you all coming.
Let me tell you something about the Rose cousins. Now, we tore Alabama up, whether it be in Birmingham, Alabama at the Boutwell Auditorium, whether it getting thrown in jail in Montgomery, Alabama, down that way, wrestling in Mobile, Alabama, Dothan, Alabama. We tore it up. For what? For you. For you. You know, I'm asked every day, Pat Rose, would you do it again? You dadgum right, I'd do it again. You dadgum right, I'd do it again.
You know, Pat, we had some of the greatest times in Oxford, Dothan, Alabama, Montgomery, Birmingham, and I can tell all these people right here, Alabama fans have the greatest heart, and they loved their wrestling back in the day. I have never, ever had a 38 pistol pulled on me except for in Evergreen, Alabama, by a little old man in his overalls, and he wanted to shoot my butt. And I believe that he would have. And also, too, in Birmingham, Alabama, we were standing one time with these rails. Pat walked around, a guy pushed him, and he dropped the belt, and the riot started coming. The first time I've ever almost been in a riot in a wrestling ring in Alabama. So you fans are the greatest we've ever seen, and we appreciate you being here. You loved your wrestling, by God.
Let me tell you the story of Birmingham, Alabama. The guy didn't push me. The guy hit me right in the dadgum mouth.
I wasn't going to tell that one.
I had this belt right here. I threw it in the crowd. It went to the crowd. We yanked him over that guardrail. Back in the day, if you come over that guardrail, you're going to get a butt whooping. And that's exactly what we did. We laid the boots to him, the whole deal. Now, come to find out, after the cops got there and got him back in the dressing room area, he had a 25 automatic on him.
That's right.
Was he coming for us? I don't know. But like Randy said, each and every one of you, man, I appreciate you. I love you. Y'all made my life special. Thank you.
And you guys, we appreciate you being here. And thank you for the honor of Legacy Wrestling, for this Hall of Fame honor, and we appreciate everything you guys do. From a couple of old fart wrestlers, we're still here and we're still mean as hell.
Don't you know how easy you can hurt me? Maybe not got no bullets, should be easy to see. If ever you decide to plan your attack, know your tongue will do more damage than a bullet in the back.